Hello to everyone that just joined us for today's session of our weekly webinars. My name is Adrian Garcia, and today we will be talking about cloud solutions, our digital signage, and our VMS solutions. We will be providing a couple of demos as well for each one of them. So let's go ahead and get this webinar started. I will provide a brief agenda of our presentation today. And as you go through the presentation, if you do have any questions, feel free to post them on our Q&A section. We will make sure to address those questions towards the end of the presentation. So we'll start with a brief introduction of ACTI, give you an overview of how our cloud subscription plans work versus our licensing system that you might be used to if you're already working with our products. Then we will go ahead and give you an introduction to our digital signage platform in a live demo. And then we will move forward into give you an overview as well of our VMS solution that includes NVR and also hybrid solutions. And we will do a live demo of our NVR3 on the cloud as well. And we will finalize this presentation with a summary of working with Acti, our project planner tools in our website, and just end up and wrap up this session with answering the questions that were posted on the Q&A chat. So my name is again Adrian Garcia. I'm based in Irvine, California, and also with us in the call we have Joe Hudak, Joe McCarthy, and Gary Clark. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves and give you an overview of our company. Joe Hudak, do you want to start?
Sure. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're at in the country. My name is Joe Hudak with ACTI. I'm the Director of Sales. Been with the company now for going on 9 years. For those of you that we have not yet met, we look forward to meeting you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Joe McCarthy to go ahead and introduce himself and then to do the company introduction this afternoon. Joe?
Thanks, Joe. Yep, thanks, bud. Joe McCarthy here. For those of you not familiar with ACTI, we have been in business for 17 years. I think September will be our 17th anniversary. In those 17 years, we've done nothing but IP videos. So we've never done any analog. We do have a line of encoders that can help bring some analog products over. But all in all, everything we do is IP-based and always has been. Like Adrian mentioned, headquartered in the U.S. in Irvine, California, which is where all of our tech support and engineering would be out of. And then, of course, our global headquarters is in Taipei, Taiwan. I only mention that because sometimes we get looped in with some of the Chinese manufacturers, and it's important to point out that we are not actually from China. We are from Taiwan. And the importance there is you'll see as you go through our product line, probably 80 or 90% of what we make is now NDAA compliance. So it meets all of the provisions set forth in the John McCain Defense Act, which basically is outlawing Chinese manufacturers and Chinese components within a camera. From here, if Gary wants to say something, I'll let him. If not, Adrian can take it over.
All right. In that case, thank you, Joe McCarthy, Joe Hudak, for introducing yourself. I will go ahead and get you a brief overview of what our unified solution looks like. You are probably familiarized with a lot of our components, including, for example, our cameras, our NVR. This morning we had a session introducing our CMS2 and the TV wall. If you missed that, feel free to join our Thursday session at noon Eastern Time. We will repeat the topic in case you were not able to attend. And in today's session, we will focus on a couple of different products, such as our digital signage, which is cloud-based, and also our VMS, which it actually represents a similar architecture from what we have here on our traditional NVR3. The main difference is going to be, of course, that instead of hosting it locally, it's going to be hosted in the cloud. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a couple of minutes. So we will be discussing about our cloud NVR in one of our market application suite solutions, which is the cloud digital signage. So let me begin by giving you a little bit about the differences between our cloud subscription plans. Instead of having one-time license fee because it's cloud-based, that means you're having a license that is going to be on a monthly or yearly basis. You can prepay depending on your specific needs on either of both options. And the main benefit is that there's no additional annual or recurrent fees or upgrade fees that some of the other manufacturers do have in addition of the regular monthly fees. And the other big benefit is that the licenses are not tied to a MAC address. So if you do need to replace a camera, you can just go ahead and swap it. Or if it's going to be another cloud digital signage device, so you can go ahead and replace that as well without having to pay an extra license for that. So if you are used to our other licensing model in which you buy everything and host it locally, then it's a little bit different just because you do have that monthly cloud cost on the form of a subscription. So it's a little bit different. These are the only type of products that do have this type of monthly or yearly fees. Anything else that you purchase in terms of licensing from us does not have this kind of fees. So just want to give you kind of like a little bit of the differences between subscription plans and licenses. Moving forward, let's go ahead and give you an introduction of the digital signage platform. The digital signage platform is a new product that we launched about 2 years ago. It's been very popular in terms of being able to utilize this as a service in retail, school districts, universities, so anything from factories to warehouses or logistics centers where they want to display information that is going to be valuable for their customers, employees, visitors, or security staff as well. So all of this can actually be managed and you can create your own layouts through a cloud client. So you just log into a browser and you'll be able to add video clips, even tie surveillance video camera, surveillance feed from a video camera, images, text, customized websites, and even some of our custom widgets. You will be able to add all of those into the layouts, customize your own schedules, and take advantage of being able to manage hundreds of devices from a single cloud-based platform. So this is kind of like give you an overview of what the architecture looks like. So the MDS100, it's a local device that you will need to purchase. That is a device you actually own. And then you can have one of those attached to in the back of each monitor. So for example, if you were planning to deploy 300 TVs across a retail customer, then you will need 300 MDS100, and then you will be managing everything from the cloud, so you can log in into the platform and push content via a PC or a mobile client, a mobile device such as tablet or a phone, and then you can manage content from YouTube, from a website, again from an IP camera, or just local content that could be videos, PDFs, PowerPoint presentations, images. So there's a lot of options in terms of content. It's a very intuitive interface. It does not require for you to manage any server because everything is going to be cloud-based. That does mean that it requires internet. You will be able to push a wide variety of contents in a very easy and flexible way to manage. You will be also able to use some of our widgets. That includes, for example, weather information, RSS feed if you want to publish information, or if you already have subscription for other services. You will be able to push pre-configured text as well and create some events. And you will be able to create those events based on real-time information. So this could be from a camera or, for example, from digital inputs and outputs. So those are some of the more advanced functionalities, but those are capabilities that the system has. You will be able to also create your own layouts and schedules as you need per device. So that means you can have different groups that have different schedules. And then it's a very simple plug-and-play installation, so it does not require basically almost any effort on the monitor side. You just have to plug in and play, and then everything else is going to be managed in the cloud. And the interface, as you'll see in a couple of minutes, is very intuitive and easy to use. So it does not require really a lot of training for you to be able to start creating your content and pushing it to monitors. And finally, the connection, even if it's cloud-based architecture, the content is going to still reside locally on the MDS100, which is the local device that you will have behind the monitor, for up to 30 days. So let's say if you do have an internet interruption or just interruption from your ISP, then you will still be able to see all of the content and your program schedules for the next 30 days. So that's a benefit in case you do have any connectivity issues outside of your network. Like I said, if you do have any questions about some of the features or functionalities, feel free to post them on the Q&A section, and I'll make sure to address them towards the end of this session. So what do I need to start working with the cloud service for digital signage? So number one, you will need the media display server, and that's going to be part number MDS100. That's a device you'll actually be purchasing and owning. And the second component is going to be the license subscription. So that's going to be the part number LCMMS 1000, and that's something that you can pay on a monthly basis, or you can actually prepay per year. So you could decide to prepay, for example, for the next 3 years if your customers decide that they want to have the service and don't want to have to worry about paying on a monthly basis or having a credit card added into their system. So we do have different options for payment, so just to make it easy and flexible according to your specific needs and depending on your CapEx, for example. So you do have flexibility with that. So how do we start it once we have those components? So number one, you'll purchase those devices and subscribe to this cloud service. Then you'll go to the website app.active.com, which is what we will be demoing in just a couple of minutes. And finally, you will go ahead and use your mobile or PC to register an account, and then you will be connecting the MDS100 to the back of a monitor with an HDMI. You'll get a code, and that code is something that you will be inputting on the system. And now you will be able to start pushing layouts and schedules and publishing your content into the devices. So it's really straightforward and simple to use. It does not take a lot of knowledge for you to be able to start creating this. And what we will do to show you how simple this is we're going to do a live demo. So this demo, this platform is something you can decide to go ahead and access on your own if you like. If you do want to access it, again, it's going to be app.active.com. When you first go into the page, it's going to ask you to log in. If you don't have an account, you can go ahead and register one at no cost. So the benefit with that is if you just want to see what options you have and create your layouts, you can actually go ahead and do it for free. Whenever you actually want to start pushing content to devices, that's when you will need the subscription. But to be able to access the platform and try it out, there's actually no cost, and you can start doing it right now. So if you want to do it right after our demo presentation in this webinar, you can go ahead and start playing with this platform right away. So let me give you a brief introduction. We have a couple of different sections here on the left panel. We have our dashboard, which is kind of like to give us an overview, and it will give us the amount of monitors we have, how many subscription capacity we have. In this case, I have the maximum of 2 monitors I can add, so that means I can have 2 MDS100 registered. I currently have 1, and it has a warning. So it's going to give me basically a summary. If I do have offline monitors for any reason, I will be able to see them here. If I do have GPS coordinates, I will be able to set that as well, in case I do have this managed across multiple locations. We do have an enterprise edition that allows us to monitor multiple clients. So if you want to actually be a service provider and you want to host this for your customers, you can actually have multiple accounts and you can manage their content and provide permissions to them directly from this as a workspace. So we do have that as an enterprise edition option, but we will just be focusing today on some of the key features in terms of how to create content and publish it. If you do have any questions, feel free to post them on the Q&A section and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other options we have here. Number one, we have media. This is where we can upload all of the different content types. That includes images, videos, audio files, documents. That includes PDF files. And on web pages, we can actually link any website that you need into one of the layouts. Then we have widgets. This widgets page actually allows us to create all sorts of integrated widgets. That includes a lot of widgets that have been pre-populated, including information about Facebook, Twitter, weather, Google traffic, QR codes, news, calendars, RSS feeds, even sport news. And this includes as well some of our custom event handlers widgets that allows you to integrate with cameras and use with digital input and outputs to be able to create events based on a specific trigger. So for example, if you do have a camera that detects motion detection, you can use Event Handler to specifically push content into one of the monitors. Or if you have one digital input that was triggered on a contact window that broke, or for example, alarm system, or even a smoke or fire detector system, then you can have those as well. So you can actually push content such as emergency exits, what to do in case of an earthquake, or whatever kind of information you want to push, you will be able to customize it. So that's something you can do through the widgets. Then so those are the two different types of contents you can push, your regular media, or you can push your widgets. When it comes to start creating your playlists, then this is the place you will be able, for example, if you want to push multiple videos, images, and combine all of those into a single playlist, this is the place where you can go ahead and do it. And then on the layouts, it's where you will actually be designing what type of presentation you want to give to your content. So you can use one of the predefined layouts in which you already have some nice content and pre-populated designs. And then depending on the type of needs that you have, for example, transportation, hotels, retail, sport events, you'll be able to select from those, or you can go ahead and create your own custom layout in which you decide based on the type of grid that you need, the type of content you will be using. So for example, if I want to insert a new image, I can go ahead and select one of the images I have here, and then I can start defining these based on the grid that I have, so I can decide to go ahead and locate it. So I can have all of my content here between media and widgets, and then I can just go ahead and start adding it and modifying based on the size that I need and also based on the content position. So I can add my playlist and I can add my widgets and my media. Now, if I want to start actually going and publishing this, I need to create schedules. So my schedules is what is going to let me select, for example, if I want to have this 24/7, if I want to have this Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 p.m., or if I want to have it on weekends, or if I want to have flexibility between all of this. So I can have as many schedules as needed. So let's go ahead and review an example. For example, for your reference here, you can go ahead and select a specific date. So if you want holidays, if you want specific promotions to be pushed out on a particular date and time, you can go ahead and do that as well. So again, schedules, it's a great way for you to go ahead and define when you want to publish that content. And then finally, under monitors, this is the place where you will actually be able to start adding your devices. So in this case, I have one device, and if, for example, if I want to add another device, then what I'll have to do is start by creating a name or an ID for it. Then I'll just need to input the registration code, which I get as soon as I plug it in and have it also on the network. And then you'll get a registration code. You just insert this, and that's about it. Now you can start actually creating and pushing your content. You'll be able to set up your network device information, such as the Wi-Fi that comes with the MDS 100. You'll be able to define information about display sounds, define what it is actually located. If it's not pulling the right information from your internet service provider, you'll get information about the status of the device, get diagnosis information as well, and also how to push alert information. So you'll be able to do all of this directly from here. You'll be able to also, whenever you push content, select if you want to have them in bulks. So for example, if you want to have multiple monitors turned on, rebooted, shut down, you can go ahead and do that as well. So there's a lot of flexibility you can get from this, and you can also go ahead and, for example, duplicate devices or copy settings. So again, it's a very powerful and robust platform in which you can go ahead and select a lot of the different options where you have in terms of content. So let me go ahead and just kind of like review really quick some of the options you have in terms of content, because I know that's a very frequent questions we get in terms of what kind of images you support. So for example, in terms of image gallery, you can select anything by using a very simple and intuitive interface. So you can go ahead and drag and drop, or you can go ahead and also select something from the gallery that we have on the platform. So you can use pre-defined options of images. When it comes to videos, we do support multiple formats as well. So if you want to add a new content, you can go ahead and add different video files from here. So that could be a video file that it's pre-recorded, so like an AVI file or an MP4. You can actually link YouTube links to it as well. So that means you can go ahead and just put a YouTube URL address, and then you'll be able to display that content. And you can also upload PowerPoint files, streams. So this is where you will put the RTSP stream from one of our cameras. And you also have the option of creating walls. So in case you have multiple monitors and you want to display them on multiple players, you also have this option here. So again, this is specifically for this type of content. You can only display up to one camera at a time. So there is a difference between the TV wall that we talked about earlier this morning in our session that covered the CMS and TV wall. So it's not to be confused. It is actually for a very different purpose. This is for one of those displays where you have everything displayed within multiple monitors just to make the display look bigger. So we also have different versions of audio files supported. So you can also select different audio files, or you can select RTSP streams or YouTube files as well. And when it comes to documents, you also have a good variety where you can select PDF, Word files, PowerPoints, Excels. And finally, within websites, it's basically just you selecting what the URL is going to be and for how long you want to play it, for example. So this allows you to also do customizations. So if you want to, for example, select a very specific script, or you want to select a specific content to be displayed with our widgets, for example, that has some of the RSS features, you can go ahead and customize it with an HTML code. So it does allow you some of the more advanced functionalities, which is a great thing. It does require additional programming experience, but it is something that you can go ahead and create on your own. So in this case, you have things like news feeds from different providers. You also have a lot of information with social media, such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then you have other integrations with some visual business intelligence, visual information such as Google Analytics, And I believe you have also, for example, lists from Trello, RSS feeds. So there's a very good amount of information you can use within the digital signage platform. So that's kind of like just to give you, again, an overview of all of the different options you have when creating digital signage. You can customize your layouts, your schedules, and your playlist as well. And then you can have as much as your imagination and design teams allows you to do. So that's about it when it comes to the digital signage. Again, if you do have any questions or anything else that you want to learn more about, please post your questions on the Q&A section, and we'll make sure to address them towards the end of the presentation. Moving forward, we will talk a little bit.
Hey, Adrian.
Sure.
Can you hear me? Why don't we address the digital signage questions now, and then we could do the cloud solutions VMS at the end of the presentation. That way they don't get confused.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you. Okay, so we do have a couple of questions. So let me go ahead and address those. So we have one asking, are the widgets free? Yes, the widgets are free. All of the things that you see within the platform itself, they don't have an additional cost, so you can go ahead and use them directly. And you can test them out, like I said, by going into app.active.com, creating an account, and you'll be able to do everything on the layouts. The only thing you don't have is the device itself, where you will actually display it on the HDMI port, but you will be able to see all of the content options and test them on your own time. The next question we have is, can this feature push picture over picture and video over video? I'm guessing this refers to being able to create the playlists. As I mentioned, for example, you can go ahead and replace one image after the other, or video after another video. This is done by creating playlists. So we do have that picture. If that's not exactly what you were referring, please let me know, and I can always readdress that question. The next one we have is if the module supports audio, and it does have audio, and it does base it on the HDMI port. So if you will need to have a TV or a monitor that does have speakers as well to be able to take advantage of audio. When there's a follow-up question with that, if you do have multiple videos, so when it comes to video, you can actually only have one video playing at a time for optimal performance, depending on the resolution. If you're using full HD video, then I think only one video can be played at a time. We might have the optional later on to add multiple videos to play at the same time, but not at the moment. And then I think that will address the question. You can actually only play one audio file at a time. So you have to decide which one is going to be playing. Those are the questions that we have at the moment. If you do have more questions, we can address those later on as well on the next Q&A session for the next part of the presentation. So let's continue. All right. So moving forward, video management system in the cloud. So what does that mean? Basically, the cloud for our VMS, it's our NVR3 running on a virtual machine in the cloud. So that could be an EC2 instance from Amazon. Normally, that's what we use, but we do have flexibility on project basis to use, for example, Microsoft's Azure Cloud, or we can actually have other preferences as well if on a project basis. But typically what it means is our NVR3 is running on a cloud instance, and we do have different subscription plans that you can use that will depend on the total amount of days that you want to use for recording. So it could be 7, 14, or 30. Then the next factor is going to be what kind of resolution you want to record. You can use 720p, which is 1 megapixel, or 1080p, which is the equivalent of 2 megapixels. And then you will choose if you want to have motion detection. That's on an estimate of about 70% motion, I believe, and the continuous recording, which is 24/7. So depending on what requirements you have, we do have different part numbers. So let's say, for example, we were interested in recording for 14 days at 2 megapixels or 1080p and doing continuous motion. So, sorry, continuous recording. So in that case, the plan that we will be interested, or the part number that we could subscribe to, is going to be the CNVR 14B C2MP. So the first number indicates the number of days of recording, then the letter C or M indicate if it's motion or continuous, and then the final number is the resolution that we're recording. So some people sometimes ask, can we record at a higher resolution, such as 4 megapixels, 5, even 4K? The answer is we do have options that we can customize for you and tailor on a high resolution. The reason why we have these two standard plans is just cost. It's being optimized for these particular recordings. So yeah, we do have other options, but the cost might increase depending on the specific requirements you have for your particular project requirements. So what does it mean that we do have different subscription plans? So your traditional infrastructure means that you will have a local MVR, you might have redundancy of failover server, you could have your analytics, and then you can have this across multiple locations. You can have your VPN. You can have a central management system on one of those facilities or maybe on your headquarters. And then you have all of your clients connected through the CMS client or through the mobile app. So that's kind of like what the traditional architecture looks like. And that's great for a good portion of our customers. But there are a few challenges sometimes people are facing more now. Now that, for example, there have been a lot of challenges with initial investment of equipment. For example, having to pay to own your servers, your software licenses from the beginning can add up in terms of expenses. So by reducing the initial investment, reducing maintenance costs, you don't have to deal with for example, school districts might want to say, I don't want to deal with a server on each location. I can use a cloud instead. Or retailers, for example, can decide I have 300 stores. I don't want to manage 300 servers, so I could go cloud. So again, there's different scenarios where you might have benefit of reducing your maintenance costs. And then you also have flexibility when it comes to business expansion and continuity. So as you may have seen in recent times, in the last couple of weeks, the world has changed a lot. A lot of businesses have had to adapt to a global change. And then that brings up the question, how easy is it for you to manage your IT infrastructure and security infrastructure by switching to different offices, different working environments, expansions, what if I need to close, and then what do I do with all that equipment and server, and how do I manage it? So those are all different reasons why cloud could be a benefit. I would say cost, it's still not necessarily the main driven factor for managing this, just because, again, depending on the solution that you're looking for, the cost might not necessarily be the cheapest option. There's a lot of very cheap options when it comes to servers. But again, it all depends on the type of features that you're looking for and the type of management and benefits of decentralizing your system can have. So again, there's always different benefits and alternatives when it comes to architecture, and we will cover a couple of those. So with cloud, you will pay as you go when it comes to the NVR, so you don't have to worry about managing the server, managing updates. You pay just on a monthly basis. You could pay on a yearly basis as well. As I mentioned before, you will have availability across planet, basically, just because as long as you have internet access, you'll be able to manage your system. And you have all of the features from the NVR3. So you'll get access to eMaps, you'll get access to Google Maps, you'll have access to all of the latest features on the NVR3, mobile client applications. So there's a lot of benefits that other cloud solutions that are currently out there don't provide you. So by actually hosting the NVR3 as a platform, as a cloud platform, there's actually a lot of benefits because it's a more robust VMS solution than a lot of the other cloud VMS providers that are out there at the moment. We do also have the capability of using redundancy through the local SD card. If you put one on the camera and then you have an interruption on the connection, then the recordings on the camera can be transferred automatically into the cloud. And then when it comes to where to use it, there's, again, a lot of different options where you might want to consider. It could be you're working with a retail customer, kiosks. It could be anything from logistics, transportation as well. For example, for vehicle solutions, you could go with a cloud application. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to how to decide if cloud is the right choice for me. Now, what options do I have for cloud? So the plans that I introduced before, the 2 megapixels, 1 megapixel, 7, 14, and 30 days of recording, continuous or motion-based plans, all of those are a pure active cloud solution. So that means you have your cameras on premises, then you do your port forwarding of your cameras and then add them into the NVR3, and then you can connect with the different type of clients that we have. So that's the more traditional way of doing cloud. We do have another option as well, in which you might want to have your NVRs locally. So in case you do have internet outages or network issues, you can still record everything locally, but you can manage everything cloud. So the benefit of doing that is you can have your central management system, CMS2. Again, if you're not familiar with that, we did cover that topic earlier this morning, and we will have another session later this Thursday at noon Eastern time. So the CMS2 can also be hosted on the cloud as a virtual machine instance within EC2, which is Amazon AWS. And then you can record everything on premises and then just access on the cloud. So that way you won't have to worry about managing your CMS or having a server. The benefit with that is the cost is going to be a lot lower just because you don't have to pay the cost of actually storing footage in the cloud, which is what typically takes the most of the cost. The CMS2, the way the architecture works is that it actually links the clients with the NVRs, but it doesn't relay video directly. So that means that it just establishes a one-to-one connection between the clients and the NVR, which the advantage with that is that you're not sending a lot of video traffic into the cloud, and that brings down the cost a lot for a cloud CMS solution. So that's another interesting option to explore. And then another popular option that we've been asked in the last few years that we had this solution, it's the NVR3 as a backup. So the idea is you can have your local NVR on premises, and then you might want to have a cloud solution. So for example, for disaster recovery, for redundancy of the recordings, you can have actually your NVR3 on the cloud, maybe with a low retention time. For example, you could have 7 days in the cloud or 14 days, while on premises you might want to have up to 3 months. So giving you that flexibility of being able to add all of your cameras also on the cloud, it's another benefit of just making sure that you will always have the footage you need if there's an incident and then you encounter any problems with your local equipment. So that is another option. And so let's go ahead and review really quick what our NVR3 in the cloud looks like. If you're actually already familiarized with the NVR3, it's actually the same product. It's just hosted in the cloud. So you will find virtually no difference between the regular interface of the NVR3 and the cloud. We do have the demo site, the same one we used for our webinar last week. If you were able to join the NVR3 webinar, then you will be already familiarized with this demo site, nvr3.active.com. you can go ahead and log in at your own time and take a look at some of the key features. Again, the main benefit is you'll have all of the features from the NVR3, but it's going to be cloud hosted, so you don't really have to worry about managing everything when it comes to updates, installations, operating system, and so on. So you have all of the benefits of being able to use your views, layouts, cameras, digital zoom, instant playback. So everything you currently can do with your NVR3, you will be able to use it with the cloud solution as well. So that's kind of like just to give you a brief introduction. If you want to learn a bit more about the features of the NVR3, feel free to take a look at some of the recordings that we have from our previous webinars on last week. And we will probably be adding those as some of the new topics for the upcoming weeks. So also please stay in tune with our calendar activities of upcoming webinars. And we will also be available in case you do have any questions about the capabilities of the NVR3. But like I said, it's going to be the same functions you have on the NVR3, you will have that on the cloud VMS solution. So no matter if you're using the NVR or CMS cloud option, you will have the same functions as the NVR3 and CMS too. So that's kind of like the end of the cloud solution. I do know that there's a couple of popular questions that are frequently asked. So I'll address those before the section of where we talk about how to work with Acti and some of our resources. One of the main things is how much bandwidth do I really need to be able to use cloud? So that really depends on the number of cameras that you're going to be using. A good way for you to estimate how much bandwidth you really need, it's actually by using our project planner, which is a great tool for you to use to understand how much bandwidth do I need for a camera. So typically for a camera, you will need, for a 2 megapixel camera, you will need about 2 MPVS with our cameras. So that's what we normally recommend, setting up to 2 MPVS, and that's what it will determine as well how much storage we do on the cloud. So that's pretty much the same calculation. That's what has been calculated for you whenever we created those plans. So if you do have a custom design that you want to have in terms of resolution, frame rate, we can always go ahead and refer you to these calculations. But again, what matters is going to be the upload bandwidth that you have on the location where the cameras are installed. And then on average, you will need for a 2 megapixel plan about 2 MPVS. So if you do have, for example, 50 cameras, that means you will need about 100 MPVS of upload, which you will need to check if that's something that your IT team can manage, if they do have available, and also with your internet service provider, if they do have dedicated connections with fiber, for example, or other DSL or cable connections. So that's one of the most common questions about bandwidth. The second one is, do I have any limitations of clients? We do have use of live view. We normally set it up everything for you to be able to use the dual stream configurations. So you'll use the second stream, which uses typically less bandwidth for live view, and then for recording, you will use the main stream. And the other question is, how does it work, the process of adding the cameras? So basically, you would have to port forward the cameras, and then once you've paid for the subscription, your subscription, and we will have signed one of our FAEs to go ahead and add those cameras, you will get a DDNS. So for example, if my company is Adrian Technologies, then you will get an URL that's called adriantechnologies.active.com, something like this. And then that's how you will be able to log in, and you will only have permissions to assign to your cameras. We will work with you on that. So the cloud setup process, it is something that you get assistance with one of our FAEs. And then once that's set, then it's really just a matter of you being able to, work with your customers and get everything when it comes to maintenance on the camera side, but on the VMS side, there's really nothing for you to worry. So that's kind of like some of the most frequently asked questions. If you do have other questions, feel free to reach out to also our technical support, or you can open up a ticket for us. You can email me as well, or you can email one of my coworkers here, Joe Huda, Joe McCarthy, Gary Clark. They'll also be happy to assist you with any questions you may have about this. So if you go to active.com, you will be able to find some of the upcoming webinars and get more relevant information from our company. So that's kind of like the end of the presentation for the Cloud VMS. I'm going to go ahead and check the other questions we have on the Q&A section. In the meantime, guys, do you want to add anything and some comments before we wrap this up?
Thanks, Adrian.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what we have all seen today is that everything that we do is designed to make life easy for you as a salesperson, and for the technicians easy to use in regards to the installation. The key thing to remember is if you do get stuck or you have questions, Joe, myself, Adrian, the rest of the team is available for you to do this. The digital signage piece in the cloud is actually really powerful, and there's a lot of applications from menu boards to schools to factories, just situational awareness. So keep in mind, it's not a product that a lot of people have sold in the industry, but as you come across customers, a lot of them do have needs for spreading information quickly. And the cloud digital signage piece is a great way to do that. So, Joe McCarthy, I'll let you go ahead and make final comments, and thank you, everyone.
I think that you know, the industry's been speaking or talking about cloud solutions for a couple of years now, and it hasn't really taken off, I believe, the way some people thought it might. However, we are seeing it more and more become more mainstream, and I get questions about it now just about every day. But one of the questions I'm always getting, or one of the questions that I actually have for people is, you know, what is the size of your system? Because I get requests for 100, 125, 150 camera systems to be put on the cloud, and, you know, at that point, in my opinion, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to ask Adrian. Adrian, what is that tipping point from where a cloud solution makes sense versus a local solution?
Yeah, and that's actually a great question. I would say that a cloud solution economically makes sense somewhere between 1 camera up to 16. If you go beyond that, it's really not. I would say there's better investments in which you can use in terms of management and redundancy. So, for example, if I went to go with a system that uses 32 or 64 cameras, I would probably prefer to have the CMS in the cloud, because that simplifies a lot of management. But in terms of economically, the recording side, it will be just, too expensive. So I would not recommend anything beyond 16 cameras to be on the cloud if it's only purely because of an economical need.
Now, what about recording locally and then backing up to the cloud?
Yeah, so in that case, it really depends on how much retention time you want to have in the cloud. I would say for NVR as a cloud, there's really not a lot of limitation. You know, even if you go to 64 channels, if you want to keep, for example, just 7 days of recording, that doesn't necessarily have to be too expensive if you go for 1 megapixel backup, because you can decide to go ahead and do a backup with the second stream at a lower resolution instead of the main stream. So as a backup, you do get a little bit more flexibility, and then you can lower your costs instead of having to, because if you're doing it as a backup, you probably want to have it in a different location or a different site. Where else are you going to host it if you only have one building, for example, right? You're not going to build another data center just to be able to host your recordings on a different location. So I think on a cloud backup sense, it actually does make a lot of sense for you to even scale up a large system on the cloud. And you can decide which cameras you want to back up. So, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. I just want to remind everyone that if you missed this morning's session, which was about our CMS and our video wall, that we will be doing again on Thursday at noon Eastern. And then this session that we just did, if you want to review it, or if you have other people in your organization that you want to sit through this, we'll be doing this at 9 a.m. Eastern on Thursday. And with that, I'll let Adrian answer the questions and finish up.
All right, perfect. So we do have a couple of questions. One of them is, can the local recording be on this, has to be the same as the one you're doing on the cloud? And the answer to that is no. You can actually decide if you want to record on the cloud on the lower resolution using the second, or the cameras that do support the third stream, you can decide to record on one of those. So it, like I said, it gives you flexibility to be able to, for example, record on the premises at a very high resolution, and then decide to use a secondary or third stream to record on the cloud and have that as a backup. Now, the next question is about what is if the cloud plan cost can be changed based on the type of camera and the size of the resolution, I assume, and different storage plans. So the answer to that is yes, you can customize it as you need. So for example, if I do have 16 cameras, and from those 16, I only want to record for 5 of them on motion, and the rest I want to do 24/7, and I want to record some of them at 1 megapixel and the others at 2, and I want to have some of them with 7 days of storage and the others are 30, I can mix and match as I need. So we do have a lot of flexibility with that, so you can decide when to do which one. And even not only that, you can decide, like I said, which cameras you want to back up on in the cloud. So if you have a total of 100 cameras, but you're only interested, for example, in the cameras that have a PCI compliance in the cloud, you can record only those. If you are only interested in recording cameras that have financial assets, or they have entrances, for example, security gates, bolts, anything that you want to customize it, we do have a lot of flexibility with that. So having cloud as a backup, I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of businesses, especially given the current times that we're living in which you don't really know what's going to happen with your facilities. And if you're off-site, for example, if you have a lot of your IT staff not working on the grounds, having something to manage everything on the cloud actually makes a lot of sense. So I do think it's a good time to have this type of discussions with your customers. There was another question that kind of like self-answer already, that about how to register for the digital signage cloud. So let me just demonstrate it really quick because I did not cover that, but let me go ahead and show it really quick in case other people also are having issues with that. It's really simple. Go to app.active.com, and right after you get into the landing page, and you will be actually able to click on I want to register, and then it's going to ask you just basic information, so your name, your email, and a password, and that's about it. You will be able to log in, and you will be able to see the same dashboard that I showed during the presentation. We do have a lot of tutorial videos on our website in manuals about how to use digital signage as well. We might be doing a more advanced session in the next coming weeks, but again, all of those resources are available right now if you want to access and get more information about those products. So that puts an end to the Q&A section. I do want to thank you for joining this session. And as we mentioned, we do have these sessions again on Thursday, both the CMS TV wall, digital signage, and cloud VMS on Thursday. So please feel free to register, join, and invite anyone that you think might be interested, and we will be happy to introduce them to these solutions. My name is Adrian Garcia. I'm based out in Irvine, California. Feel free to reach out if you do have any questions. Thank you for your time again, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.